Hi. Part 2, Tchaikovsky, 1812 Overture, Violin 2 for page 5. That is a lot. Okay, so this piece is huge. All right, I did the breakdown in the other video and I was gonna continue, but my little babe woke up from nap time, so that was the end of that. So here I am with the second video. It's easier for me to just do a second video than try to put them together in iMovie. It takes forever to do that. So, and I'm still learning. So, I'm just doing a separate video. It's easier, faster upload. Okay, so part 2, I'm gonna demonstrate some things for you. Okay. So definitely, if you haven't watched the first video, you want to do that first, because I'm not going to show you the music that much in this video. Okay, so starting at the top of page 5, we're going to start in measure 309. Okay, so that's towards the end of that first line. So measure 309. And if you haven't done this, I will show you this. So I went through and put in a few measure numbers so that I can call them out to you quickly. And I know that when I'm doing pieces like this in an orchestra, I will sometimes go ahead and write those measure numbers on important places where we start. So when the conductor says, everybody start at 309, you kind of know where you are. Or if there's a really long way to count and you can't figure out, there's measure numbers over here. But sometimes there's a long count out, and you could just count it out ahead of time and then write it so that when they call out that number that's far away from over here, you can find it quickly. So just something to think about. You can count things out and mark them. So we're going to start in 309 and talk about this. So let's talk about this first half, okay, until we get to 324, okay? All of this is bouncing, it's spiccato, it's quiet. Let's see, does it get louder here? It is crescendoing starting in 317, crescendoing, but by this point we're only mezzo forte, so it's pretty light. It's light and quick, and that's even harder. So it's harder when it's very quiet to bounce, but let's talk about it. Okay, so in 309, let me demonstrate a little bit for you. We start with this. Okay, and that's slow. I'm doing this under tempo, so you're learning it. You need to hear it more clearly. All right, so when we bounce and we do spiccato, we want to keep it, especially if it's quiet, we want to keep it really close to the string. So let me turn so that you can see this. So I'm keeping it really close to the string. What I don't want is this. I don't want to bounce all over the place because I'll lose control. Okay, so we don't want to lose control of the bow, so we keep it really close to the string. It's very, very tiny. It just barely comes off of there. This is a true bounce, which means you've got to be in the bouncing point of the bow. Okay, so that's about a little below the middle, not quite in the frog, a little bit above that. It depends on your bow. Let's see if I can get that to where you can see it better. Okay, figuring out the angles with the camera is interesting. And for something like this that's super quiet, I would tilt my bow. So my bow is tilted. That means the stick is tilted away from my face, okay? We never ever tilt this way. Don't ever tilt the stick back towards you, so that means your hand and your wrist sink backwards. We don't want that. We want to tilt this way. And so when we tilt it, that puts less hair on the string. I don't know if I can show you that on the camera. Let's see. That's not very clear on there. But basically, I'm just using the edge of the hair. And so a good portion of the hair is not even on the string. So less hair on the string, less sound. Okay, and it does make it a little bit easier to bounce, okay? Okay. Also, notice that I'm not in what I like to call the tone zone. I'm not close to the bridge because this is where we play when we want more power, okay? I'm going to play over here closer to the fingerboard. The strings are a little flatter and closer together over here, so the bounce will be a tad easier, and it's quiet anyway, so we need a less sound anyway. So if we want less sound, we want less hair, we want to back off the tone zone, we want to keep it very, very small and bounce very close to the string. This is not a big bounce. Okay, now a full spiccato lesson, maybe one day I'll do a spiccato video. That would be a whole video all of itself, okay? But for sure, a basic idea is that you want a very, let's see if I can, we want a really relaxed bow arm, and my hand is very loose and relaxed. What I don't want is a super tight hand. We don't want locked out knuckles. We want nice rounded knuckles. You should be able to do something like this. Okay, if you don't have a great bow grip, this is going to be really difficult. Okay, we've got to have nice curved fingers, and you must have that pinky on top, nice and curved. Okay, and this finger doing its job. These two fingers can't be hanging out like this. They've got to be holding on nice and snug. A little, I like to say they hug the bow right there. So a hug. Think about a hug. It feels good. You're going to give it a little squeeze, but you're not going to hurt anybody, right? So you're going to hug the bow with these two fingerprints right there. I like to say the fingerprints are going to hug that bow, okay? Hug the bow right there just a little bit, but keep it kind of light. And so these fingers are flexible and rounded. We've got to be able to use all those rounded knuckles in there. So if we're locked out like this, you're not going to get any bounce. Once you lock the pinky or you lock this finger, suddenly the wrist is really locked. That actually hurts when I do that. I can feel it hurting the muscles in here, and it'll start to lock up the elbow and then all the way up to the shoulder and the neck, okay? So it's super important to get a good bow grip with a nice curved thumb underneath, nice curved pinky on top, and that it's flexible and loose. And when we do bounce, for sure, we're just letting it very, very lightly relax on there. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Oh, alrighty, so let's go through that. Let's see if you can see it. Okay, so, okay, the next thing to do to keep in mind is that when we start spiccato, and you have quite a few entrances on here where you have a rest and then you come in, you're going to set your bow on the string. So you will always want to start from the string. Don't try to start from above the string and then land right in that one moment that you need to start. It's going to be a disaster. If everybody does that, the chances of us all landing right on that one little 16th note that you all have to start from are very small. It's not going to happen. It's going to sound like popcorn. Everybody's landing slightly differently, and then it just sort of runs away from us, and it's a mess. Okay, so always start with your bow on the string. Set your bow on the string. Always set it down. So let's see. Kind of seems like if I turn that way, you could see a little better. Let me turn myself. Okay. Trying to focus on the bow a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to try to demonstrate that. And okay. So if I started at 317, we have and 1, 2, 3, 4, set. And I'm going to put my bow on the string, set my finger, set my bow with my fingers, and 1, and 1. Okay, so in between those little rests, as soon as I finish one little phrase, one little group of notes, and then I hit the rest, I immediately get my bow and my fingers ready right away. So don't wait until you need to start to get ready. As soon as you finish, right when the rest starts, you get ready for the next thing and just be waiting. Okay? If you get used to doing that, you'll be on time for these things. When we do it slowly, we think, oh, I have plenty of time to get ready. But actually, we don't. When it goes faster, you have very little time to get ready. So get used to getting ready as quickly as possible. And it's something you'll always do. Once you get used to that habit, it works a lot better. The other thing for spiccato to keep in mind here, you have a lot of string changes. The bow is going from one string to the other a lot. It's up and down. And when we have string changes, we're going to stay on the string for those things. The two strings are separate anyway. So we have, I'm bouncing. Right there, it's going to be on the string. And the trick here is to just relax your arm and let the bow sit on the string for those two notes. They're small. Now exaggerating so that you can see it a little bit. Bounce. So, right on the string, okay? So, and they're still going to sound separate when we go faster, okay? So let's see if I can do a little faster. It's very hard to catch. And to find those string changes, it's harder than you think. You may have to slow it down and purposely find out where they are, so. Okay, so they're sort of in odd places usually, and until you get the hang of where they are. Okay, so if I go a little faster, it keeps it really close to the string. And 1. And 1. Ooh, that one's gnarly. And 1. Okay, so we're starting from the string every time. I'm resetting it. Okay. Okay, and then the other thing is to practice in the tempo. So even at a slow speed, you want to count things out completely. So let's say I do this at 80, which is a slow speed for this. Okay, it's super loud. Okay, I'm gonna play from 309. I might make a mistake, but I'm gonna keep going, okay? Because I'm trying not to edit the video. It makes it a lot longer. I have to put in iMovie, so if I make a mistake, I'm gonna keep going. You'll get the gist, okay? But hopefully it'll give you an understanding of how it flows and just the rhythm. So here we go. So at 309, I'll count to 2 and then I'll start. This will feel really slow for right now. Okay, ready? 1, 2. Rest, 2, 3, 1, 2. 2, 3, 4, 1. Hopefully that helps you. And you'll notice that in measure 323, that last run that goes into measure 324 where it changes, I do that in third position because, not because I need to do that run in third position, but because it's easier for me to be in third position at 324. So check out the fingerings for that. It's a little funny, but I think it's worth giving a try. You definitely have to get ready before that. Okay, so let's go on to measure 324. So now we start with these doubles. When you're doing doubles, if that's confusing for you, which for the longest time, that was really confusing for me. And sometimes it can still be confusing for me. So when I'm unsure about the doubles and they feel really strange, I'm looking at the music, but I'm going to try to look at you. When I'm unsure about the doubles, I will play the rhythm straight. So no doubles at all. So if you look at it, okay. So what do we have here? We have ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, ta, ti, 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 sort of, something like that. I'm trying to sing Tchaikovsky. Yeah, good luck with that. Okay, just to get a sense of what's going on, right? So we can always play this whole thing in just singles. Don't play the doubles at all. And you can speed it up that way, and you can work on the fingerings that way. And I personally, if I'm working on shifts and fingers, I'm trying to figure out where my fingers go, I don't do doubles. I do them in singles and just work on the left hand, right? So if I am, when I'm working on shifts, I'm working on the left hand. When I'm working on doubles, I'm working on the right hand. So by taking the doubles away, you're taking the right hand out of the equation a little bit. Now, it might mess up your bowings some, but it doesn't really matter. It still gives you a really good sense of how fast things are and how fast your fingers need to move, okay? So if I were to do that, let me give you an example. So we're going to keep this at 80. Okay, I've got it at 80. It's just a starting sort of a good base to get to. Some of it will feel slow at 80, but other parts will feel really fast, like the end of the page. Yuck, all those triplets. But let's say we do this starting at 324 in singles, and I'm not going to do all of it. I'll just give you an example. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Ready? And okay, let's see, what's a better way to show you that? So you could do that all the way through just to get a sense, and then we can speed that up. So because we know it's faster. So let's say we did that at 100. Okay, I'm trying to show you the fingers. It's hard to do that. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, so you can do that all the way down and go faster and faster, and that really works the left hand. Okay, let's talk about some of these funky shifts that I've got going on. So really starting in at 343. So we're going to start crawling down. I mentioned that in the last video. We're starting to crawl down from position to position. We sort of go from fourth or third. Let's say we're in third, then we go to second, then we go to first. We come back up to third, second, first. And so we're sort of crawling back in half steps, okay? And what that does is it takes these groups of 4 and keeps them on one string. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep the bow on one string. And this is not really even about the fingers. It's about keeping your bow on one string because it's fast. And we need for it to, the string changes are what give us a hard time, especially when we hit the triplets. So if you're doing... If you're doing... That's using a flat 4. We're string changing every single time. We got to do it fast. It gets to be a little crazy. If we just go to second position... My wand never moves, and I can just keep it on one string, okay? So, you know, getting there is a bit of an issue, but it just makes it better. So this crawling down, so starting in 343, we're in third position when we start that. Actually, let's start in 342. So find that, pause it if you need to. 342, we're in third position. We're playing C, D, okay, and then we're going to climb back. So we have C, D, A flat, G. Now I'm going to slide back. I'm going to find the half step, which happens to be between 1 and 2, and that's where I'm going to slide back a half step. So it looks like this. Now I can get to this F, because that's the next note I need, and then I stay there. Let me try that again for you. So here we are in third position. Now I'm going to go down. Here I go down again to first. I stay there. So just now I shifted to second position. So the very last note before the double bar at the 3/4. So that would be measure 347. And measure 347, we go into the 3/4. And that's where the triplets begin. And that's where we really need to be on one string. So the very last note of 346, I'm going to shift into second position and be able to play what's coming up all on one string. So I use the open D. Let me show you. Okay, so right here, I'm going to use open D. I'm already in first position right here. And when I hit the open D, I'm going to allow my hand to just gently glide up to second position and put my 2 on that C. And then from here, I'm in position to play all this stuff. So this 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? And then the tricky part, that's not too bad. Here though, getting this all on one string, you have to go up on the D string in fourth position. That sounds super crazy, but it's one string over, so that's helpful. If you go to the A string, it's further away. So here, this keeps you just one string away. And all I aim for is the harmonic D, that very first note. And then each finger that's after it, the 3, the 2, the 1, are all whole steps away. So I'm going to demonstrate that. Okay. And then from that point, I start to crawl down on the D string in the same way that I just did this other section. So I'm going to show you. Here we go. So I'm going to go into second position right there at the end of 346. So we have, here I go. Okay, and then we have, sorry, wrong note. Staying there. notice how all I did was find that harmonic 4. It's easy for us to find. And then I allowed my fingers to come down after that. So here I go. Now I'm going to start to crawl down. So 3, 1, 1. 3, 2, 2. I may have played one too many right there. I'm not sure because I'm looking at the camera. Okay, then 3, 3. Okay, so I'm always sliding where there's a half step, okay? It's easier to do this little crawl backwards only where you have two notes, two fingers that touch each other, where you have a half step. That's where we're just gonna slide back a half step. Now you've gotten into a new position without having to work super hard, okay? So it works really well and it's something we do a lot. So even if you feel like, oh, I don't wanna do that, give it a try because we do it a lot. It makes our shifting much easier. We don't want to have to do giant jumps all the time. If we can just sort of slip back a tiny little half step into another position, it's so much easier and safer. We get there a little bit more in tune because we're not going so far. So it's definitely a technique that we use a lot. So give it a whirl, give it a try. Let's talk about the triplets. Now let's talk about the bow. So that was the fingering. That should take you pretty much to the end. The doubles aren't that bad. It's the triplets that are difficult. So let's talk about that. So if you have those are the notes that we have, okay? For the first grouping of them, starting in the 3-4, right where the triplets start in 347. So the notes aren't that crazy, right? It's just getting the bow. So let's say we're at 80 again. Bum, bum, bum. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Why do I feel like that's faster? Oh, I have it on 100. Whoops. I thought, wow, that feels really fast for 80. Okay. Haha, 80. Okay. So, your fingers are doing basic. We already covered it. Okay, if you can't do that with singles, don't even worry about the bow. Just work on the left hand in singles. Speed that up. But now when you're ready to work on the bow, okay, those fingers keep moving at that, in that way, no matter what. So you're gonna keep the fingers moving right in time and hopefully get the bow sort of just going in a groove. And how can I say this? It's almost like they're separate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, triplet, 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 triplet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's hard to say. Put your metronome on. It's almost bouncy at this speed. I'd have to try it faster to see if it does actually bounce. Okay, so you get that going. Okay, so my bow is just cruising along, keeping that groove. What I'm not trying to do is think. That's really hard. It's too fast to do that. There's just no way. So you just have to get your bow going in a groove and move your fingers on time. I will say, also, last note is that each one of these groups of 4, da 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 dum, here they all start on a down bow and it's a given. But here, because you're in 3/4, you have a group that starts and then you start another group sort of on beat 3, which is weird. And then it goes on, then this group starts on beat 2. It's kind of weird. And then it starts on beat 1 again, and then beat. So it crosses over measures, which feels kind of strange. But realize that, and you know, one note, the first note of a measure is down bow. The second one would start up bow in this triplet pattern. And then it would be down, and then it would be up. Down, da, da, up, da, da, down, da, da, up, da, da. So that's confusing, and you can't really keep track of that at this speed, but each group of 4 descending notes goes down, starts on a down bow. So notice I've marked in down bows. Hopefully you can see that. Let's get a little closer. I marked in down bows right where each one starts. So you should feel your bow and that top finger sort of align, and that'll help sort of keep you together. The bowing really, really helps the rhythm and helps us to stay together. So, and if you get tangled somewhere in that run of notes, let's say in one descending line of 4, just land on the next one with conviction on a down bow. Down, and try to get at least the start of each down. That can be a first good goal. And then as you get better, you'll start to get a couple of notes in there, but at least start to get the first one of each group descending on time. And then hopefully you can start to get more of the notes in between. But sort of count it that way. Each grouping is how you're counting. Okay? Okay. So I'm not playing this up to tempo in this video. This is, that'd be really crazy. At first you just need to get it at 1 speed, start it at 80, and then we could start speeding it up. Okay? But hopefully this helps you, and happy practicing.